welcome to this time lapse where I will be painting a coconut. The reference photograph is from Pixabay, and I basically flipped the image around so the open coconut was showing on the right hand side, and just for interest, and I just thought maybe it might look a little bit better the other way around, so I just easily flipped that. Sometimes I'll do that with reference photographs. What captured me about this image was the beautiful color of inside that coconut. I wanted to paint some of those blue grays and blue violety gray colors. Obviously it's white, we all know coconut's white inside, but you can see a lot of color in that white. And I've never painted a coconut before, so I was like, here we go. I'm working on the Pastelmat paper here. This is in the sand color. And it's a small painting. It's about 16.5 centimeters by 16.5 centimeters. For one of the galleries where I have my work, he wants me to do lots of little vegetable and fruit paintings. So this is part of that collection. And they take me quite quick. This doesn't include thinking time or transferring the image onto the paper. This is literally me pasteling, putting pastel onto the paper. They take about an hour, so you can get, mini painting done quite quickly. So basically I started off with the background, and as you can see I've used blue. Like I said, the theme for the blue with the white and the brown, I was just loving that color combination, so I decided to do the background much darker than you can see in the reference photograph, because I wanted something a little bit more moody. I wanted the coconut to pop a little bit more from the background, so that's why I chose to do a dark background. I used a combination of Unison colors, color 22, 23 and 24. Those are like the darks within the Unison range, and they like have a navy bluiness to them. So I used those, and then those light color, those two little sort of patches, I just chose to do those to bring a little bit of variation. Those are blue violets from Terry Ludwig. Then starting at with the actual coconut shell, this was actually fun, and it came together really quickly. Just using some browns, dark brown mid-tone and a lighter brown, to bring in that depth. As I say all the time in all my time lapses and demos, the key for me is bringing depth into my paintings. I want to try and make this 2D surface look as 3D as possible. So my go-tos for doing wood, like the wood on this table, is Unison, the Natural Earth colors. They're brilliant. I use a whole range: Natural Earth 5, Natural Earth 8, Natural Earth 15. They just work so well for wood when you're creating wood. And I used horizontal strokes just to mimic the grain of the wood, and again using a dark brown, a mid-tone, and then a lighter brown to create depth. My shadows underneath there, just first off with black to get that darkness, then I go over with Unison Grey 13, which is really good shadow color. I love that color. Anyway, and still a little bit of pastel pencils to get the hairy bits of the coconut shell. I'm sure they have a specific name, but I don't know what it is. But just so I can get that really thin line, pastel pencils work to treat. And because I hadn't oversaturated the paper, the pastel pencils really were sticking. You could see them. They really are showing. And I used a combo of like an orangey brown. As you can see here, it's kind of like an orangey brown, then more of a yellow ochre sort of brown. Again, just to bring some variety into the colors, again to create more depth within my painting. This color I used is Brown Olive 5% by Caran Dache, and as I don't know if you could tell in the time lapse, but actually as I'm laying down those little hairs, I'm actually twirling my pencil around so that I make sure I've always got the sharpest point, and it also it stops you from creating a straight line that may look quite artificial. By rolling my pencil, I'm creating lines that, as you can see, they're all over the place. They're very what's the word I'm trying to find? They're not all linear, because that would look stark and strange. Because if you look at the coconut, it's actually, those little hairs are a bit all over the place. Anyway, so twirling your pencil is a good little tip to get that sort of effect. So now starting with the white of the coconut, I'm taking a mixture of blues. I've got like an indigo blue, then a brighter blue like a cobalt blue, and then using a blue violet, as well as more of like a grey, greeny sort of blue. It was really important for me, like I mentioned before. The whole reason why I chose this was to try and capture the color of this white, in inverted commas, coconut. So I'm just using a mixture of blues. I'm also mapping out the brightest part of the coconut, which is the edge, and I'm just used a pastel pencil. Then towards the lower bottom of the open coconut, it's got like a creamy yellowiness to it. So bringing in some pastels that have like a beige, creamy yellowiness, as well as on the top there. You can see I added that in. And then I take like a grey blue and just go over, darken up again. So my method is usually dark, light, mid-tone, or dark, mid-tone, light. And I will build up my layers that way. As you can see, I will go in, back in with the light, then I will go back in with the mid-tone, and I just build up my painting that way until I get it to the place that I'm happy with it. So Unison do a wonderful grey, like a purpley grey colour. It's grey 8 and grey 9, actually, both of those, and I've used them quite a lot in this piece, as well as grey 7, which is much lighter, but they all have this beautiful bluey purpleness to them, which work to treat in the coconut. Then to lighten up those little bits, I added some of that grey 7 in there too. Because I was using that color in the coconut, it's nice to kind of tie in a little bit of the background in with your subject. So that was my excuse. I thought, oh, let me add a little bit of this light gray in there, and that's exactly what you saw me do. Because my finger's too fat, I use that little tool, which is a soft tool, spelled S-O-F-F-T. It's the tools you use for pan pastel. But I use them, in my paintings because it's got such a nice little nib on the end there. You can really get into little nooks and crannies, and that's exactly what I used it for, because I wanted to soften out those marks I'd made. Going in with the white now to really just highlight the lightest parts of the painting. And I want everything. I love it when pastel paintings have a softness about them. I also do enjoy pasteling where you leave the actual pastel strokes. I think they can be quite interesting and fun. But my real heart is definitely soft, having a soft feel about the finished pastel piece. I want it to all look soft. I really, really enjoy that. Adding a little bit of grey as well. I used a mixture of greys, warm greys as well as cooler greys. So blue greys and red greys. Fixing up edges, really important. That was just a black pastel pencil. And again, going in with my soft tool. Now that I've got pastel on every part of the paper, I go back in and refine edges, which is really important. So refining my edges and then heightening where that light is hitting on the table. Just taking that same grey 7, which is quite light as you can see, and putting that in, as well as then going in with the dark brown. So I'm heightening the contrast by putting light and dark together. Twirling for a few more of those coconut hairs. I'm sure they have a proper name, but I don't know what it is. So if you've enjoyed this, you can join me on Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description below, where I have quite a lot of tutorials in real time demos, me talking you through as I'm actually painting, or there are a few voiceovers on there too. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please subscribe and like. That helps my channel. Thank you so much. Bye for now.